Hello, I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl who looked good. I would call.
Hello and welcome to the SC Ballers podcast. I'm your host and coach of the Terrace Crew, Matt Ricks. Well, Magic Round. It's in the rearview mirror. What a weekend. The SC Ballers made their debut up at Magic Round and it was quite the sight to behold. Young GI merch flying out the window. Magic Round vibe picks left, right and centre. And joining me up there is our first guest tonight. He was ranked 6th leading into Magic Round. It was all going so well, but he comes out of Magic Round ranked 24th overall. Still very, very good. It's Coach's C-Max 86's. Chris, mate, how you feeling? Got the post Magic Round blues, or you're still up and about?
Nah, definitely a bit of a come down. I must admit, it was such a good weekend. It's hard not to have post Magic Round depression. It is there, but I'm going to push through tonight. It was just such a wonderful weekend. Seriously, if you haven't got to Magic Round before, you got to do it. You mentioned it, the vibe picks. There was 2 or 3 times where just before games, just feeling the energy of the crowd and picking Nicho as vice captain, or seeing NRL physio up the road at the pub and him talking us into getting Kalyn Ponga. There was just so many wonderful little moments over the weekend that really made it such a great weekend. And it was such a huge scoring weekend as well. So much to talk about. So yeah, great weekend.
It was, mate, and it was good. We had our young fellas there as well, which it made even more special. I think the thing for me, I won't get into too much because I want to introduce our next guest, but just like the random footy chat, like we spent a good chunk of the weekend just trying to figure out jersey sponsors from premiership winners for the last 30 years, and it took us the whole day, and we ran into some really random great people who helped us out. But just stuff like that going on all the time, like you can't really describe it like any other way. Just footy heaven.
Yeah, it was just rugby league nerd heaven for the whole weekend. Jerseys, stats, you name it. It was just geek talk, all about rugby league, all about Supercoach. I just couldn't get enough of it.
Like you said, get yourself up there. One man who had the most severe case of FOMO I have ever seen. He was ringing me, he was checking in, he just wanted to get up there, but he had family commitments, and that's fair enough. He's a good man. It's coach of Tubes' pods. Tubes, welcome back to the SC Ballers podcast.
Yeah, cheers, Matt. Thanks for having me. I think I had a worthy excuse not to be there this year, being my 10-year wedding anniversary, and I'm moving house on the same weekend. But I definitely had FOMO. And I'll be looking forward to getting up there next year. Can I just confirm Sharks 2016 Premiership jersey, Southern Pathology? Was that the major sponsor on the jersey that year? Yes.
Correct. Yeah, we thought it was Southern Radiology, but we were correctly pointed it was Southern Pathology, even though I had the jersey with me at Magic Round. But there were some beauties in there. Yeah, the Melbourne Storm ones were the trickiest, and then also just going through them, was that actually a premiership even? But yeah, shout out to Host Plus. Anyway, let's move on. It was a wonderful weekend, but we can't get bogged down. We have to look forward. Chris, I mentioned you're ranked 24th. I'm ranked 37th. It's really into the nitty gritty now. Tubes, you've had a few good weeks as well. But a big shout out to all the new SC Ballers out there. We met so many up at Magic Round. It was so good. People love what we're doing on socials, love the podcast. Special shout out to the boys. Their names escape me at the moment. Dylan and Mitch, who were the ones who got the Young GI shirts. They came up to us on Cactus Street and correctly told us that Young GI Shibasaki's projection was 55. They were absolute legends. They wore the shirts on Sundays. Go check it out on our socials. Just incredible. And yeah, please just keep following us. We're loving what we're doing. We're on X, Facebook, Insta, YouTube, TikTok, at SC Ballers or at sc.ballers on YouTube, of course. We got the Sunday Snap with Tubes and Jono. That's going bananas. A lot of snappers up there, Tubes, actually wondering where you guys were, particularly you. No offense to Jono, but there was a lot of like Tubes leaning snappers up there.
Yeah, I think it's becoming a must listen on a Monday, Tuesday, the Sunday snap. And it was really fun reviewing Magic Round this weekend. Just so many ridiculously big scores.
Oh, we haven't even talked about the big score shit.
Yeah, as in, it was honestly just crazy. Nicho kicked it off on Thursday night. We were all up and about because we VC'd Nicho, but then the hits just kept coming from there. It wasn't
even as if the games were that high score. It wasn't as if the games were that high scoring. The scores were just bananas, and all popular players as well. So,
and Matt, you skipped over it a bit too quickly for my liking. But just I know dizzying heights up there with you two in the top sort of 50 odd. But look, I've just peaked. Going to the top 10% for the first time this year. So I'm just blowing a little trumpet.
Welcome.
And it's onwards and upwards from here, I think.
And our man Jono as well. He's up to top 3K. He's now. I don't think he's ever been that high. He's getting absolute. What's that?
Noted head-to-head player. I think
he's getting vertigo. Yeah.
Could be having nosebleeds, Jono.
Yeah, so good work, boys. The Snappers are on the way up, and their legion of fans will be very happy. We got the Q&A pod again on Thursday. Make sure you go and check out baller.live. We've got some amazing, cool stuff coming there to be checking out in the coming weeks. But we were popping that out at Magic Round, showing the punters the lightning fast score updates, which are in there now, and so go check it out. Big shout out to our SC Baller League 730-444. That's going to be open at least until the first major buy in round 12. So please go ahead and jump in there. We've had hundreds still jumping in. Big shout out to Feb Dogs, coached by Anthony. He still leads. He's 6th overall after punching out a very nice 1639 on the weekend. Closely followed by the Flatty Hunters FC and the Eskimo Brothers. So well done, boys. They're all top 20. And a special shout out, Christopher, to the Supremas FC, coached by Steve, who knocked out 1804 on the weekend. I've never seen an 1800.
No,
absolutely crazy.
That is a massive score. That's awesome. Well done, Steve.
It's not that long ago since we were talking there was a par score some weeks was 940.
Yeah, that's just phenomenal. It's so huge.
What a game! We love it. All right, guys, we're going to get straight into our positional analysis tonight. The baller blueprint, it's just fallen by the Magic Round wayside, unfortunately. But we have plenty of strategy chat within our positional analysis. And we're going to start up the top at fullback, and it's straight into a few big guns here. Of course, James Tedesco misses on the bye this week. Chris, you and I are not owners, and we were a bit devastated Friday night. Probably one of the more down moments of the weekend was seeing Teddy punch out that amazing 130. I think we were lucky that wasn't 200, to be honest.
No, I think we spoke about it later that night when the realisation of the big score kicked in. But watching that game at 32-8, Teddy's probably already on 120. It could have got to 200. We're non-owners of Teddy, so lucky that the Dolphins pushed back and almost got back in the contest.
Yeah. Tubes, with Teddy on the bye and these fullbacks sort of with these nice matchups this week, I'm talking Ponga mainly, Paps, obviously, and then Drinky. Drinky's matchup against Penrith at home, not amazing, but still not terrible. How would you be feeling as a Teddy owner there? I know you're not an owner, I believe.
Nah, unfortunately, I don't own him.
As a Teddy non-over, how are you feeling? Are you happy just to ride that out this week? And obviously, he's coming off some huge scores, so he's gonna have a low break. I think his break-even's in the 30s. Or would you just be sticking fat and holding on to Teddy for round 11 and 12?
I think if you owned, as tempting as it would be to get a Kalyn Ponga for this week, I'd probably be holding Teddy. I think the chat is he won't be playing Origin. You're gonna the only way you could consider trading him is if you were basically storing up trades that you'd be trading him back in round 12. So It'd be Teddy to Ponga and then Ponga back to Teddy in round 12. And that feels a little bit too flippy for me. And I don't know about you guys. I'm down to 29 trades before this weekend, and that's starting to feel light. And I don't think I'm the worst out there either. So, yeah, I just think 2 trades to get Teddy out and back in doesn't feel like enough for the points that are on offer. I've got 29 trades left before this weekend, and I don't think that that's the worst out there. So I just think knowing that you'd have to trade Teddy and then trade him back in 2 weeks, that's 2 trades, and I just don't feel like the upside of points for those 2 weeks of Pong is worth it, or cash realistically. So hold Teddy, stick fat for this week.
Yeah, I think you bought Teddy for that round 12, and like I've seen nothing to suggest that he won't play in that round 12 bye. Obviously, there's always the danger that he gets recalled for Origin. I just can't really see it. And he's going to be the best player in round 12. They got a tricky fixture, I think, against the Sharks, who'll be relatively full strength, but still, Teddy is, ultimately quite fixture-proof. And I've actually got the baller projection somewhere here for Teddy, which I'm going to drag up right now for round 12. So he's still projected 82 points in that game. So still a very good score on his projection there. So I think I'd be holding him for sure. We spoke about Ponga there, Chris, as a potential Teddy 2 Ponga. He bounced back with a 98 on the weekend. Probably could have been more. I think he should have got a line break that they didn't give him. He certainly looked back to his best, didn't really seem too hindered. There was obviously a game the night, so it's a bit of the same boat as Teddy. Like, I feel like Ponga could have gone 150 there. I don't really know how the Knights only put 30 on the Bunnies. Could have easily been 50 or 60. Obviously, you and I are quite happy having brought him in. If you own Gutho this week, would you be flicking him onto Ponga? It's probably really the only sort of fullback that you might have. Maybe Yongi that you'd be looking to get up to Ponga this week. Is that worth it? Because it's Titans and Eels and then probably Origin. So it's really a 2-week sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a really hard predicament to put yourself into. Look, Gutho is just draining cash. He's got another massive break even. I would be bringing in Kalyn for those 2 fixtures. I know it's only a couple of fixtures and then Origin, but they are as good as they get fixture-wise for Kalyn. He looked free, and like you say, on the weekend, that 98 could have been a lot more. It felt like a lot more. I think, the heavens also opened during that game, so that probably hindered them a touch. So he could have gone 150 very easily. I would be making that trade, as you mentioned before. I'd be jumping off Gutho. I just think you've got to get off Gutho. If you haven't already, do it now. Kalyn Ponga's fine for the next 2 weeks. I think
wouldn't
Ponga's
do
going to
it.
fly.
Wouldn't do it. Like, I think you're crazy to just bring in Ponga for 2 weeks now. I think if you're going to do that, you had to do it last week like you two did. I think Danny Boy's plan is pretty good, and I know Fletcher Sharpe's more of a centre wing part of the discussion, Matt, but I think he's relevant here because what I'd be doing is selling Gutho to Fletcher Sharpe for this week, putting him into your fullback, and then in 2 weeks' time when you bring Teddy in, you move Fletcher Sharpe down to the centre wing. And Fletcher Sharpe's got that same run Ponga does. He's got Titans into Eels, and then he'll be the fullback in round 12 when Ponga plays Origin. So if you do not own Fletcher Sharpe, do not get Kalyn Ponga. Get Fletcher Sharpe for whatever fullback you've got to trade this week.
Yeah, I think you're bang on there, Tubes. I probably didn't look at that because I'm already a Sharpe owner. So what's probably where else would you go is sort of my next question to that, because I don't think you can hold Gutho. Who's another option?
People are still bringing in Drinky off the back of sort of back-to-back tons. I can't really...
Big price.
Like he's getting out... Well, he's just getting huge. He's getting big in price. He's going to get bigger.
Doesn't play
he's on
12.
But he doesn't play around 12. So... I still think Scotty... They've got 2 tricky games. So you probably missed the boat on Drinky, I'd say. I'd say Fletcher Sharpe is far more urgent. Like, the closer we get to this buy schedule for the Knights, the more, like, it's just ridiculous, these games they've got coming up. Like, not only do they play every game, but they've got a great, the fixtures are great in and of themselves. I think Lucas Sharpe and Marju are all essential. And then you can even look at, there's pod options in there as well, like Gagai and probably not Schiller now. There's a bit of a rumour that Dom Young's going straight to the Knights from the Chooks.
Really?
Which, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
He's
Jeez,
been
that'll
told
be interesting too.
So then he becomes an option if he goes up there because he's really cheap at the moment too. So yeah, these KPP's killing it. Like there's few pod options there. In saying all that, you cannot be too exposed to Knights because if they do lose a few, I think 4 is the right number.
Just reining this back to the actual fullback chat. The Drinkwater, Matt.
Vibes only, Tubes. Sorry.
You mentioned Drinkwater, and I just wanted to say I've thought about him because Jono brought up that he was going to be 820k, and I was shocked. Like that is so high. But I've looked at it, and I still think he's a must bring in. And I know he doesn't play round 12, but he's basically a must-have from round 13 onwards. He's so involved in that Cowboys attack now that with Clifford and Dearden. If anything, Dearden's potentially missing some games throughout from an origin point of view, which means Drinky's more involved. He's got the goal kicking this year. I just think hundreds is going to be par for the course for him, and their run from round 13 onwards is just getting better and better. So I just think that, as you said, his price is only still going up. So I still think that he's an option to go from a Gutho as well.
Just on him, he's the highest projected player in the whole game on baller projections from round 10 through to round 19 to the end of the bye period, with a projected 10-round average of 91. So, yeah, like you say, Tubes. And not only is that's his average for those games, but he plays in every game except for 12 as well. So a couple of trickier fixtures, the next 2, but yeah, I think you're spot on. I'm just glad I'm not in that situation, but I tend to agree with you. So Sharpe and Drinky buys we're going with at fullback.
I got another one. I actually thought Tubes would have brought it up. That's why I threw it back to him. He could have gloated. Pod Tracy.
Connor.
Like, why did you not go straight there, Tubes? I sort of opened it up for you to just gloat.
I was leaving that for the centre wing chat, Christopher.
Sorry, I probably jumped the queue.
Let's transition down.
He's an option.
Let's transition down to centre wing with that. Go on, Tube. Sorry.
No. So obviously Tracy's available in centre wing. You could do the same as the Fletcher Sharpe. He's gone 118 on the weekend. Obviously, I brought him in, and I'm very happy with it. And one of the big reasons of bringing him in was their bye schedule. So they do play 12 and 15. They do miss the mini bye round of 13. Like last week was the week to get him before they played the Titans. He still is an option, but I rank Fletcher Sharpe above him now for where he's at. I think the only pause I have on him that I'm a little bit worried about is I really liked him for the weekend against the Titans, but with Matt Burton back in the team, they do go left side dominant a little bit more, and he's not a big left side sweeping player. He basically brings Kiraz into the picture with his right side sweeping. But at 582k, he's a great pod option for sure.
Yeah. Pod option. Fletcher Sharpe still for me just essential. We spoke about him already. Let's talk about, Chris, some of these guys who the super coaches out there are selling, and specifically I speak of Jaxon Purdue, who's been sold by 20% of the teams in the top 10%, over 20%. He's 638k, break even of 100 this week, so he's obviously maxed out in price for now, pending a monster this weekend. And then the other popular sells at centre wing are Billy Smith, who, as Jono referenced it, the curious case of Billy's base, where's it gone? He really let the team down there on the weekend with a 34. No vibes at all from Billy. Rob Toyer, Bobby T stole all of them. And then young GI Tubes, Shibasaki. People are finally jumping off this week. He's got a break even of 47, 517k. I wouldn't be going anywhere near a Shibasaki sell this week. Personally, this is blasphemy.
Just seems crazy. They got a match up against the Bunnies. He's I know it looks like he's going up against Campbell Graham, but it'll be against Tass. He'll just be running rings around Isaiah Tass this weekend. Like, he could be in for a double. I genuinely think, even though he doesn't, if he played round 12, a lot more would be holding him. But that Broncos draw opens right up after 12 as well. So I think he's a hold.
Yeah, I agree with that. Hold at least for these next couple, and then reassess for round 12. Because just round 12, just with numbers, you can have a look, I think. But you've held him this long.
The one you mentioned, though, Matt, there, that I'm interested to hear your thoughts on. I don't know, do you own Purdue? I'm having a bit of trouble with him because I can go Purdue straight to Fletcher Sharpe. Feels like he's been my boy this year, Purdue. I don't mind him as a pod hold. And we just talked about Drinkwater and that amazing Cowboys run from round 13 onwards, playing all of these different games. Like that left side attack with Drinky, Dearden, Purdue, Nanai, it just feels like something's unlocked there. But at the price, Purdue to say a Fletcher Sharpe feels like a free roll.
Jaxon Purdue is a star in the making. I'm fully on board with YouTube's there. Absolute gun. Never played centre before, and now's pretty much like one of the best attacking centres in the NRL. Look, I own both Purdue and Billy Smith, and I have money in the bank this week. So I got 440k before trades, so I can do whatever I want, really. I'm going double upgrade at this stage, Eli Katoa and Herbie Farnworth in. So I have to sell a centre wing. My options to sell at centre wing are Jaxon Purdue and Billy Smith. So everyone else has to stay. Robert Toya obviously has to stay now. Now, on face value, I thought I'm going to sell Billy Smith because I can afford it, whatever. But on a closer inspection, I think Jaxon Purdue can easily be sold this week at 638k, break even of 100, as I mentioned. He might still keep getting it done, but we've got to remember we picked this guy up for 270k at the start of the year, or 260k, whatever he was. He's made almost 400k. He's made points. Obviously, most people sat him for that Souths game, unfortunately. He's always going to be a sit-start consideration. So he's always going to be that 18th man in your squad. Do you play him? Do you not? So he's going to keep doing your head in like that anyway. I just think that this time of year around buys, you really want to get making use of that money. So he doesn't play around 12, which we spoke about the Cows draw, and I've been a big advocate for having Cowboys in your team if you are covered for 12. Billy Smith does play 12, and he still could make money. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to punt Billy Smith into the sun first chance I get. But I think that I'm going to keep Billy Smith, sell Purdue. That will leave me with just over 300k still in the bank for some round 12 upgrades. Like Teddy might be on the menu, Olakau'atu, people who haven't got some of these other sort of guns like Kiraz, who know, like obviously they'd be very popular by this week, but Herbie Farnworth, Greg Marju, there's just all these guys that you want on the menu. I think you can really get the money and put it to use there. Chris, where do you stand on the Purdue Billy Smith?
Purdue's a really, really curious case. He's been flying this year, like you said. He's made nearly 400k. You touched on the Drinky draw, which here's the same draw. I honestly do not know what I'd be doing. Yeah, like it's a great conundrum to have because he's done so well for you. But it just feels, I suppose, I probably slightly lean towards turning him into a Herbie because you know that Herbie is a proven gun. Like you say, you're not thinking about sitting or starting Herbie. You're starting Herbie every game. And with Jaxon Purdue, you might not be. So that's probably where I'd land. So I'd be comfortable to move him on if you're going to a premium gun like a Herbie or a Kiraz.
Yeah, those numbers back at the ball projections back that up, Chris. So round 10 to round 15, Herbie's projected 76 average, which is slight value on his current price of 728k. Jaxon Purdue is like he's still projected 61 on baller average, so very reasonable. And I think you can hold if it suits your team and you don't really need a trade there, or you can't trade at centre wing this week. There's no urgency as well this week at trading wise. I just want to kind of get these guns in as quick as I can because I think that just will help my team and set up. But yeah, so look, I think it's very team dependent. Don't like saying that, but I'm leaning to selling to get the cash on the park, to get that cash back on the park in other places with upgrades, and then but yeah, can find a hold. Moving on, let's get down to the sort of more premium price range there now, guys. And I'm talking about guys like Herbie Farnworth and Jacob Kiraz. Let's start with Kiraz, Chris, because he is coming off 152 on the weekend. We had left Magic Round by the time this happened, and we left on the crest of a wave. But by the time 3 p.m. came around, you were well and truly entrenched on the reef.
Yeah, it was tough. It was a tough listen. So I drove up to Magic Round, drove back. I had to turn the ABC off when that game was on. It was just doing my head in. Kiraz is in again. I just every chance I got, Louis would just have the baller app open. So I'd just check a score, and I didn't like what I was reading. It was really, really hurting. So it's off. Couldn't listen to that game anymore. Turns out he punches out a big 150. Look, we've had some serious conversations already about this.
A lot of back and forth.
Yeah, there's been a lot of back and forth. I will say at the moment I have been turned around, and Kiraz is coming into my side. My worries with Kiraz were mainly Origin. I think he has been playing the house down. I think there is a chance he gets on the wing for New South Wales, especially with Lomax not playing at the moment and still being under that injury cloud. You've also got Brian To'o, who's making a return from an injury this week as well. So I think that is a chance of happening. Mind you, after I made the trade and he dropped into my team, geez, it looked good. It looked so strong. So, look, he is just a tackle-busting offload, absolute gun. I also hate the dog, so cheering on him is going to be hard. But I think Tubes has turned me around. I think if you can get Jacob Kiraz, get Jacob Kiraz.
Is that still your view, Tubes?
I don't know. I swung a little bit the other way. I think a Kiraz he's a must get in, must bring in. I think what you just outlined there is probably the only pause for non-owners right now is whether or not he plays Origin. And that Origin backline is just so up in the air as to what's going to happen. You're going to assume Turbo's on the wing, but there could be an injury at center. There could be an injury at fullback, and Turbo can cover either of those positions, and then a winger comes in. There could be an injury on the wing, and then a winger comes in. It feels like Kiraz is one injury away in that entire backline from potentially coming into the New South Wales Origin side. So if I was a non-owner, I am an owner here, I don't think you can lay Kiraz for that bye period. However, I'd pause maybe for this week. He's got a break even at 36. He's obviously going to go up a little bit, but it's not like he's going through the roof. Like he's got an okay draw, but he's playing the Raiders in Canberra this weekend on that right hand edge. I think that the Raiders' right side defense is weak, and I think the Dogs will target that compared to their left side defense. So I just think that you could consider pausing this week, getting another week of information on seeing where that Origin team shakes out, and then still buy Kiraz next week or buy him before round 12. I'm not saying lay Kiraz at all, but there's a world where I think that you could consider not getting him this week.
The only issue, like that break even does sort of look manageable, but if he gets a 75 this week, he's going to be 763k with a break even of 23 next week. So if we're advocating for a round 12 buy, that just makes it very difficult. And then if he gets another 75, he's going to be over 800k. So you've really got to reconcile that probably with yourself that I'm not getting him now and I'm going to pay 800 for him in round 12. Do you think that's best there, Tubes? Because if he doesn't play round 12, if he does play Origin, then he misses 12, misses 13 with the Dogs on the bye. So you do get paid, like everyone, no one's going to sell him, right? If like me and you own him, we're not going to sell him in round 12 if he's missing 2 in a row, are we? I wouldn't have thought. Maybe we will.
I don't know. Like, I mean, if he's either. 800k, maybe you do. That's what I'm saying. It's not. And I'm not saying you wouldn't get him this weekend. I just think maybe I'm probably just putting the case out there to say you could get him next week as well. So I like maybe I'm a too big of a fan of the Raiders, or too big of a fan of the weakness of their right side defense, so that I just think Billy Kicks is going to have a field day on the left this weekend.
Well, like you mentioned before, but they're very left side dominant with Burton back as well now. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm looking at Herbie this week, as I mentioned. He's 728k, break even of 90. He's got a try in the last two and only sort of gone 70, 79. I think he went on the weekend. Look, he's just Herbie. They got the good fixture this week, which is what I'm targeting against Parramatta. He gets up against big bustling Will Penasini, which I think is quite a nice matchup. Herbie round 12 is just close to essential, I think, especially if he's going to play fullback or the off chance. The Finns have a very nice draw there. What was that? You got something to say on
Not
that?
essential. It's not essential, and he's not going to play fullback. They reckon Kurt Donahue is going to play fullback. So
the hooker.
Yeah, no, he's a fullback by trade.
Well, that's good.
He's playing as a utility hooker off the bench.
He's starting at hooker this week.
Yeah, he'll be. I'm just saying. That's what I'm reading. I don't think essential.
I don't know what you're reading or where you're getting it from. I want some of that info though.
I mean, I'm in the depths of the Dolphins fan discords and mail, trying to find reasons not to bring in Herbie.
Any bit of information to back up a theory, I love it.
You sure you're not talking about Kurt O'Donoghue? Jeez.
That's what I'm talking about.
His Irish cousin.
His Irish cousin. On Wikipedia, he's listed as a 5'8" and hooker. So I'm not saying he can't play fullback. I'm just saying if I've got Herbie Farnworth there, I'm giving Herbie a spin at fullback while Hammer's out, and not Kurt O'Donoghue. Sua Fa'alongo, moving right along, is 527k. There's just no sign of Will Warbrick, Chris. Poor bloke's had concussion symptoms. I've loved what I've seen from Sua. Geez, an excitement machine. He'd be a great own. -4 BE this week. This is probably the week to take the punt home to Tigers.
Yeah, if you're going to take the punt on Sua, it's this week. Day game in Melbourne versus the Tigers. It just feels like the Storm have got a point to prove as well after probably not having a great period, and they get back home and they can bounce back, and he's one who could go off. Geez, he's been tackle busting, setting up tries, swan dives into the corner. He's been amazing. The price is probably what worries me a touch with him. 527. I know the boys on the Snap on Sunday night mentioned it. It just feels a bit heavy, given that he could lose his spot at any time. But what we're seeing at the moment is just phenomenal. He is such a good player.
I'm not worried about the price at all. I'm worried about the minutes. Obviously, like his place in the team is at risk, because I think he'd still be first one out. I think Anderson would take his spot on the wing if someone came back at centre, say, which I don't think will happen because I don't think they've got anyone coming back there. But Warbrick's obviously the one on the wing. I think that if you want to punt and you sort of want to chase a bit of rank, I think he's perfect. I think he's a 65 to 70 average on the wing for the Storm, to be honest. So I actually quite like the price there.
Can I just say, like I do often when I see these types of players, I went straight to going, could the Sharks get him as their fullback? And so I've gone and looked up his contract, and the Storm re-signed him last year on a 5-year deal. Like, they're too good. Just too good. Nice backup for Pappy.
Can play wing.
Unbelievable. He looks so dynamic, and just as you say, tackle breaking. He'd be a very fun own. You just want some bit more assurity he's going to be staying into the team. I'm going to be having a bit of a look at him this week. If I hadn't already potted up too much, I've got Lehigh, Hopper, and Connor Tracy. I'd be having a much bigger look at Sua this week for sure, as that sort of 6th, 7th centre wing spot.
That's a great set of pods. Great set of pods. Yeah,
We'll
I
see.
really like Sue. I'd be taking, if I wanted a punt, I'm not going to take the punt. I'm going to stick with the tried and true with Herbie. But yeah, the Sewer, and it's a bit too risky for me at the moment. But yeah, I think if you like that risk, go for Sewer Longo. All right, let's move down to the halves now. We're going to combine 5'8" and halfback, starting with LKT, the new king, Chris. 83 on the weekend, 198k. He's only on game 2. So the question on a lot of super coaches lists is question at lips is can you go early on in week 2 having seen what you saw on the weekend?
I hate going early. I really, really do. But in this situation, I would seriously consider it. Next 2 weeks, like obviously he's going to play that one game after he gets a price rise, and then he misses round 12. So I can understand why people would be going early on him. It frees up so much cash. Like if you're downgrading someone who you think is going to be playing Origin and it's not going to be in your side for that period to go to him, like
Who are you selling? Who are you selling to him?
Well,
this
week you could sell Nathan Cleary.
Next week, not this week.
If you've got
deal bags.
Deal bags. So you could do that. JC's back now. Look, yeah.
That's just the problem. It's just I don't think there's any urgent sells at 5'8" this week. Maybe Brimpod Tubes. Alexander Brimson.
Yeah, I think so. But why go this week? Why not wait a week? What's the point? Like it's just I mean it also he scored 80 on the weekend, but he doesn't seem to have the most super coach friendly game. He's going to need attacking upside in that Dragons.
He's heavily purchased. He's 10%. He's 10% purchased in the top 10%. I bought him last week, but it was obviously for very different reasons. It was purely to free up that Jaden Campbell cash, and that's not really worked out now with Campbell back this week. But don't get me wrong, I'm happy he scored well, and hopefully he can do well again this week leading into next week. But yeah, I'd be waiting a week on the new king. We just spoke there about AJ Brimpod Tubes. You're pretty well placed to talk about him. He's been a very tough own for owners.
Very tough. I thought he'd be playing fullback by now. Still hanging out for Kieran Foran to come back. But interestingly, De Groot probably had his best game on the weekend. He looked most lively. He's still only lost about 30k. Brimson, he's been sort of hovering around. He's had a lot of tries without going massive. I think for owners he's going to be a sell. He's not even making 17s anymore, so he's a 500k player that you can't pick in your 17 week in week out. So I think he's got to go. But yeah, it feels like the week I'm going to drop him is the week Foran's going to be back and he'll be moving to fullback and I want him back in. So I'm just holding. I don't know. I feel like I'm just holding out and hope.
Chris, we don't need to get into them too much, but Dylan Brown and Lukey Metcalf, pretty big shout-outs to them. They're sort of picking up at that 5'8" position, both dual, so interesting probably for next week with Cleary missing a couple of games in a row.
Yeah, no, both. Look, Metcalf was great on the weekend. He's had 2 big scores now without a great deal in between, so I'd probably be wary of that. Dylan Brown with Moses back seems a more viable option for me. Probably easy for me to talk to that because I grabbed him more in panic the week I messed up, but it's actually worked out really well. He punched out a 70-odd with a try and an assist, I think, on the weekend. I like his matchup this week. It feels pretty good, Dylan Brown.
Yep. We'll keep an eye on those guys for next week. The popular purchase at halfback this week, Tubes, is the one and only Nicho Hynes. Coming off a big 117 on the weekend against the Eels. Could have been more. Nearly got over for a last-minute try there. Right in front of me and Christopher at the whatever that end is at Suncorp. What? He seems relatively essential for 12 now, just given the Sharks look to have hit a bit of form. Their fixtures are pretty decent. And he's just that really sort of prevailing option at halfback, especially while Cleary's out.
Nicho Hynes is a must own. Like, I'm
Ooh, there we
surprised
go.
that he hasn't come up. Like, he plays 12, he plays 15. We talk about him a lot on the pod, as everyone does. Clicko Hynes is his sort of name around Fox Sports studios there at Moore Park.
Don't mind that.
But I've been very impressed the last few weeks with Fit. Finally feels like Fitzy's come on board with the strategy to go. Trendle can't be the dominant half. There's been a clear play that it feels like Hynes is playing now left and right, and that includes sweeping on the left side, giving the ball to Kennedy, running those short ball plays to both Nicho and Billy Burns or Wilton when he's back. Obviously has the goal kicking. Everyone knows the Sharks can go huge. You cannot not have him as one of your 13 players for round 12 and round 15.
That's the sort of hard-hitting opinion that I come to this show for every week, Tubes. Thank you very much. I agree with you. 663K is a gift as well. So, yep, I'd be bringing him in. A big shout-out to all the Hugo Savalas buyers last week. There's a few of you this week as well, even though they're not playing. But he struck gold with that Sandon Smith HIA. So, yeah, if you jumped on him last week, congratulations. I just want to give a shout, Chris, to Jerome Hughes owners as well. We were talking pre-pod. They've really copped a bad sim with that injury he picked up the week everyone bought him, and he's still struggling with that shoulder. If you're an owner, would you have any issue moving him on to Hynes now? It just feels tricky with this game against the Tigers now. Like I'm glad I'm not in that boat.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad I'm not in that position, but I would be. He doesn't play 12. Yeah, I think I would. I think I'd be comfortable to move him on. Like, did he? No, he stayed on the field on the weekend, but he definitely was hampered by it. I don't think that's getting better in a hurry. So no, I'd be comfortable to move him onto Hynes.
Yeah, his scores have been okay. He's on 61, 76, 51. Just not that big score. They've got the Tigers this week, then they run into the Sharks before bye around 12. So yeah, hopefully that can sort him out. But yeah, I'd have no problems going to Hynes. That's just got to be a little bit tricky because if you've got to look at your Cleary plan for next week as well. Are you holding Cleary? Are you selling him? You've got to think about who your halfbacks are going to be in round 12, and one of them might be Jerome Hughes still. So you've just got to have a bit of foresight there. Moving up to the 2RF, I should say, and there is plenty going on at 2RF this week. There's a few selling off. So we'll start with Corey Horsburgh, Tubes. His minutes have just been nowhere for about a month now. He's 550k with a break even of 69. He's still heavily owned. I think it was like 89% on the weekend in the top 10%. I sold him about 3 weeks ago, which I'm pretty happy about, to be honest. 7% of teams in the top 10 have sold. The big thing is he had a Cat 1 HIA and somehow he's turning up to play this week. We don't need to get too much into the ins and outs of that, but he is playing. My question is, should you be selling Hors? Is he an okay sell this week to upgrade to the likes of Eli Katoa or Haumole Olakau'atu, or if you don't own Dylan Lucas?
Yeah, I think he's the most logical upgrade. He's 550k. It's not a huge jump to those players compared to, I'm sure a lot of people still own a Thomas Cant, etc. Or Hubner. So he makes a lot of sense. I know we've talked a bit of Origin already, but that Queensland pack is up in the air. Is he in and around the chat for Origin for Queensland, Horsburgh?
Yeah, I think if I had to put a number on it, I would say he is a 80% chance of Origin.
Yeah. And so I think if you believe that then he is a sell. Like the only reason you're holding him now, he's got that nice dual front row, second row forward. They play 12 and 13. So if he didn't make Origin, he's a nice number in 12 and 13 when you expect the likes of Payne Haas to be backing up.
Terrell May.
Tino. So you're wanting then Terrell May. So you're wanting to keep that number. But if you think he's going to make Origin, then he's a sell this week. And so I'm looking at upgrading him to Dylan Lucas in my team. And it just feels very nice.
Chris, give me a stack rank order of those two RFs this week. You obviously own a couple in Katoa and Olakau'atu. You don't own Lucas, I believe.
No, I don't own Lucas.
How would you be stack ranking those three? They're three outstanding options. Obviously, Eli Katoa doesn't play 12, but he's kind of bottomed out in price now.
Yeah.
Hit me with your three prong ranking in there.
Well, that is hard. I would go Dylan Lucas 1, Haumole 2, Eli Katoa 1, given that the first two, but sorry, 3. Given the first two mentioned will be playing 12, and I think Eli Katoa is just suffering a couple of injuries at the moment. He's doing a little tough. There was some word around that he's got an MCL strain as well as a compound fracture of the finger last week. So look, they're all wonderful, and he still punched out 61 in base on the weekend. Given that, so Eli Katoa is fine. Like, they're all amazing. At some point, they're all going to be in your side, but yeah, that's the way I'd go. I'm moving on the horse this week to get to Dylan Lucas because he just looks phenomenal.
Yeah, I think Lucas is completely essential. I'd have him number 1 trade target. I'm going to say Eli Katoa number 2. I don't own either of Katoa or Olakau'atu. I want them both. I think Eli's a better asset to own, and I really want him for this bye period, even though they don't play 12 or 15, and he's got the matchup this week. I'm still a little concerned about Olakau'atu's Origin prospects. I don't think he's going to make it. I would suggest he's something like 15 to 20%, but I can pick him up in round 12. They've got the Sharks this week. It's not the easiest fixture. So I'm just going to wait on him. I'm just going to take the punt on Katoa this week at 657k, roughly the same price as Olakau'atu. Tubes, do you want to take Beau Fermor chat, or should I let you go? You can let that one go through to me and Chris to handle.
I mean, I love Beau. I owned Beau to start the year. Jono hasn't let me forget him that I've sold him.
Every week.
He's gone massive, and he's looked phenomenal these last 2 weeks. The interesting rumor coming today, which was that David Fafita actually asked to be put on the left, and that was part of the reason for him being dropped. It makes a little bit of sense. Like, he feels like he's had a rocket up in the last 2 weeks, Fermor, like the way he's been running those lines. It's a very disappointing one for me to have not held him and had that run, because I definitely felt that he has that type of play in him. I don't think he is a buy, though. I think that is a chance he plays Origin. I think you're too late and you've missed the boat. And the big reason I sold him is I still think that he's an injury or so away from in the centres, from being moved back out there. They've got a bit of depth on the wing and in the halves and fullback, as we've talked about, but they don't have much depth in the centres, the Titans. And so, like, if he gets moved to centres, he's a sell straight away. So I just think there's enough risk there that you can't buy him.
Well done to owners who bought him last week, especially. He obviously had that big negative BE, and he just can't stop scoring tries. 2 tries on the weekend again. I'm hard again. I was pretty outspoken last week, saying I didn't like him as a buy, and I like him even less this week. Like I said, well done if you jumped on. That was a good call, and obviously he did well, scoring 2 tries against the Dogs. But 650k, and I just think he's going to get picked on that left edge for Queensland. Like, and at worst on the bench, I think you're buying him for 2 weeks and then you have to sell him straight away. So all the reasons Tube said as well around him being moved to centre and the possibility of that. I just think the other guys we spoke about earlier are the better sells. Moving down to front row forward now. And I don't know, you wouldn't have caught any of this bloke, Chris, on Saturday in the car, but Luron Patea from the Panthers busted out an 80, I think, roughly, with a try in 28 minutes. He looks like a very, very good footballer, a real beast mode guy. He is going to be low minutes, so sort of probably 20 to 30 minutes per game. He does probably play around 12 with the amount of Panthers that are going to be in Origin. He's minus 17 BE, 232K. Could you entertain Patea as a downgrade to get cash to fund upgrades elsewhere?
Yeah, sorry. How many games has he played? So he's
two.
on the
He's on the
bubble this
bubble.
week. Yeah. Okay. Look, it's very we like you said, we don't like saying it, but it's very team dependent. This one, like if you need to make a cash play, but if you need to make a cash play, I can entertain it. But otherwise, I don't want a 20 to 30 minute player, stinking up my bench and being an AE nightmare. I don't like it. He's not going to score a try every week. So no, I wouldn't be getting him unless you desperately need cash to upgrade to a Katoa, to a Olakau'atu. Then I can get around it, but I still wouldn't be thrilled.
No, it'd want to be a good upgrade. I think you're right about that. He could also
played
be
14 minutes in round one.
Yeah,
when he played like that. If that's his floor minutes wise, he's just Royce Hunt. But worse, basically. Sorensen's still to come back. I know Martin and Yo will play Origin, but Sorensen's still coming back. Papali can play big minutes around there as well. I just don't think that he's worth getting in.
It's a lovely name, Luron Patea. Really flows off the tongue. I like it.
You mentioned
Hamish
pre-pod.
Stewart.
It sounds like a beach somewhere. It's lovely.
It sounds like a lovely beach in Thailand. Tubes, Hamish Stewart is kind of the other sort of semi-popular buy at front row. He's 321k, so a bit more expensive. But he had quite a good game on the weekend for the Dragons, and he looks like he's usurped Jack de Belin for the starting lock roll. 47 minutes on the weekend for 79 points. Really strong. He looks a really likely character, young Hamish Macbeth. Feel like we've talked about him every week on the pod, but I don't know. I'm just not looking for these type of players, but he could make 200k across this period. He doesn't play around 12.
Yeah, I mean, he's still 321k, only available in front row forward. Like, who are you selling to?
Surely you'll get Jewel.
Like,
surely.
Yeah, but even then, so he gets that for round 12. He had 79 on the weekend, but that was with a try. 47 minutes. I don't know. I just don't want to be playing around at front row forward realistically.
Well,
I want to keep Haas.
Horsburgh would be who you would be selling to him.
Yeah.
Give me enough.
Make 230k, make 230k to upgrade elsewhere. I don't hate it. I'm not doing it.
The three front rowers you want, in my opinion, is you want May, you want Haas, and you want Tino, and then you want someone that can move around front row forward, second row forward. Like, is that not all you want realistically? Like, why do you want a player like this in your side? Suppose
the reason you might want the player in this side is that front row could be a little bit of a transit lounge during Origin. Like Payne Haas and Terrell May and Tino Horsburgh, they all play Origin. So that means they miss 12, 15 and 18 at a minimum. Then they've got to back up depending on when their teams play, Friday, Saturday or Sunday, depending how injured they are, depending how much their teams need to win. Look, I've got my issue with him is that he's like, just as like Flano's shown that he's not scared to drop blokes on a whim, basically. Like Jack de Belin could have a good week at training and Flano might like that, and then he's straight back in the starting team. It's a tricky one. I can see why people might do it, but it's not for me.
I think if you're going to be if you feel like you need something more at front row forward, then you're looking for a more premium option. I like his teammate, Couchy, Toby Couchman, front row forward, second row forward, dual 627k. He's just a beast when he gets the minutes, which most of the time he is. Back up to 56 minutes on the weekend, pumped out another 69 in basically base plus power, including 45 tackles. I just think don't play around. It's been big boy season all year. Don't play around with these 300Ks. Get in the guns if you're looking for
so
that
you'd probably
over the Origin
rather
period.
probably rather sell like a Purdue and you get cash that way rather than try and go Horsburgh down to a Stewart. Yeah, okay, I'm on board with that. It is just I kind of wanted to spend a little bit of time there because it is a very tough week for downgrade options. You're sort of looking at LKT in the halves, and then there's nothing really doing in the forwards. So
we didn't talk about it, and it's just like I know this is going back to 5'8", but like Munster's going to be a sell next week. So Munster to LKT next week is going to free up 400 and something K into your side. So I think you can be planning that out. Like cash, I think there's going to be ways to get cash. I don't think Hamish is the best option.
Yeah, while we're back up at 5'8", welcome back to Jaden Campbell and well done to owners that held. That's worked out quite well. I don't think he's a buy this week though. Just with that injury, just probably want to see it. And also the Titans are so bad that I think that's going to impact his potential scoring as well. So I'd be steering clear of Jaden for now, potentially around 13 pickup. You're probably looking back at around 13, 14. They don't play around 12. So yeah, I'd be looking more at the deal bags, even Metcalf, probably deal bags though at
No, you wouldn't. You're just throwing out names now. Like
I would. I'm keen on deal bags. They play. Like Chris said, they play.
I meant Metcalf. You're not going to look.
No,
at
yeah, probably deal bags. Honestly, the baller projections love Metcalf though, so I'm not writing him off entirely. He's actually projected to have similar run to deal bags through that period. So sneaky option still. He's still bloody heavily owned. He's 30% in the top 10% Metcalf. So well done to those who held as reference. All right, hooker. Finally, hooker's time in the sun, and we put it down the bottom this week. Sandon Smith and Connor Watson, two very popular hookers, are not playing. Sandon had a 0 on the weekend. He was on his way to 600k. That's probably not going to happen now, unfortunately. We spoke at length about taking an AE at hooker. I still don't think there are many good buyers, Chris, this week at hooker. The buyers people are looking at, and I just want you to riff here on these guys: Riley Smith, Jazz Tevaga, and Cam McInnes. How are you feeling? Tell me what you're doing at hooker this week, first of all, and then just let me know what you think about those guys.
Yeah, so straight away, I'm just copping the AE at hooker this week. I'm pretty comfortable with my group on that. It will be sitting on the pine that someone will get enough, and with the flex this year, you take your best 17 scores anyway.
Who are your hookers at the moment, Chris?
My hookers at the moment are Sandon Smith and Kalyn going, and I have no chance of changing that for the foreseeable future, to be honest. I just think hooker has been so grey all year. At some point after Origin, I'll be looking at Harry Grant, but outside of that, it hasn't been great, and that's why I'm happy to take the AE this week. On the guys you spoke about, I think Cam McInnes is probably the most likely I'd go to. He had a 90 on the weekend with a try. I think he scored just in front of us. That was a beauty.
Right in front of us.
Yeah, fantastic.
Little Nicho short ball.
Yeah, that's it. Mitch Moses blowing up about obstruction, please. So he's got that dual ability to go up and down. And if you've got a Kalyn going, I don't mind that, because sometimes McInnes isn't a bad option to play. He does have good base. He bottoms. He's 45 to 50 at worst, I reckon. So out of that group, he'd be the one I go for. Mind you, he's a bit more pricey than a Jazz Tevaga, who's starting at 13 this week for Manly. I hate that.
I reckon you're asking for trouble with Jazz Tevaga. Like, don't get me wrong, it could work out. But 341k minus 14, starting at lock. Gerbo's back. I know he's set prop, but it feels yuck.
Yeah, it does. That's exactly how I feel. Yuck's the perfect word to sum it up. It feels yuck. Actually, hooker feels yuck. Just take your AA unless you've got a Tommy Starling this week. Don't buy him, but if you own him, just keep him and just move on until there's someone reliable.
Tubes, I feel like we've dodged having to talk about Riley Smith all year. Have you got any firm opinions about young Riley?
I wouldn't even comment on him.
Yeah, moving on. Basically, I think I'm on board with Chris. I like the one thing Riley Smith I'll say is he. I feel like there's been enough sample size with him getting decent minutes and not being a super coach option that you want to play. I feel like he has a lot of missed tackles, which obviously comes in and negative against him. I'm completely on board with what Chris said. I'm totally against McInnes. I'm totally against any of these other hookers at the moment. I'm so disappointed Max Plath is injured and out for a few weeks, confirmed. I just think that if you own Sandon, and you're now going to be holding Sandon after he's gone 30 last week, like when on their matchups, are you going to be picking a Cam McInnes over a Sandon anyway? So if you're not 100%, yep, I'm playing McInnes every week. Why are you paying $582K for a person to sit on your bench? Like, I just think this year, everyone hopefully understands that when you get have a non-player like Sandon this week, you get your auto emergency. Your auto emergency is your lowest non-playing reserve. That then comes into your 18, and if it's your lowest score, drops out. You do not get a 0. And it could actually be one of your highest, actually be in your 17 scores. So I just think cop it this week, then keep running with the Sandon strategy from there.
Even more so this week because most teams have probably only got 18 to 20 active players anyway. So I know a buddy of mine, his 19th player is Dylan Egan, and he doesn't have a hooker. So actually, Dylan Egan is his hooker this week, as his AE. So you like you said, Tubes, I think you've really got to take your medicine. Don't make any trades at hooker. Riley Smith, because if he's got Brendan Hands in the reserves this week, Lussig's due back next week, it stinks. Jazz Tevaga might work out for you. Like, if you're going to take a flyer, fine, Jazz Tevaga. I just don't see the point.
Who's the front rower missing? Like, how long's he out for? Is it
it's Sipley. He's suspended. He did that really bad hip drop against St George, so I think he's halfway through his suspension. He got 4 weeks or maybe 5.
Yeah, so he's only 2 weeks away now as well. Like, so once he's back, Jazz is gone.
Counted, so it might be even longer.
Yeah, okay.
Manly obviously play 12, don't play 13. No, they do play 13. So yeah, look, I think we're all pretty clear there. The only thing I want to say is Peter Mamazelis is out with a dislocated elbow for it looks like at least 3 weeks. So some people like, oh geez, like you don't have to sell this week either. Like you could just hold him and take that AE again and deal with him later. What's he worth now, Mamazelis?
In the 450-ish.
K. Yeah, look.
Can't do that now. Like Humphreys is back as well this week in the halves. Jai Gray on the bench, Humphreys in the halves. Like obviously Cody's still coming back. Dodd hanging around on the bench. I feel like that's pretty trappy as well.
Who?
Like as into, I'm worried about what Mamazelis is. Like you probably hold him this week, but you don't actually want to have him as a playable option moving forward.
No,
either.
but he might he could make a recovery in a week as well, unless we get an update. Like he might be back next week. In which
just
case,
feels like I don't know. It feels like that's a really good time to go to Kalyn. Someone like a Kalyn going this week. It gives you $250K to spend elsewhere. Like if I had Mamazelis this week, that would 100% be my play.
I think you're right. I think Nuff is the way to go there. If you've got Sandon and Mamazelis, go to going, take the AE this week, then you've got Sandon to cover you at hooker. If Sandon gets injured, make a reassessment. You can look at trading a 2RF, pushing going down to the 2RF and bringing in a hooker of your choosing. So I think to sum up there, our firm advice there is do not buy a hooker. I do want to talk about Connor Watson briefly, boys, because I'm an owner. I mentioned that I'm selling Purdue. I'm also selling Connor Watson. So Connor Watson at a bare minimum misses 10, 12, 13, 10, 12, 14, 15 with the Roosters buys in 10 and 14. Then he might miss 13 on the backup as well. They've got the Dogs in 11. He's got a break even of 70. I'm just getting that. I'm getting that cash and going to be using that for. I think he's a perfect trade out. So if you're in the same boat, I think you want to get Connor Watson out of your team. I'll be shocked if he's not in Origin. That's the only probably downside. Tubes.
I think like for you, it's easy because you've got him in second row forward.
Correct,
There will be
yeah.
a lot of people out there that have him in hooker.
Mm.
So I think my advice for those for Watson would be either hold or if you need cash to make trades elsewhere, enough to go in. Like basically for all the
Would you
reasons that
go-
you just said.
I would probably. This is the only reason I would consider this one. But if you don't need the cash, I would consider McInnes to Watson to McInnes as a straight sideways move.
It's still, I still think you're barely picking him in your team. Like, as in, like,
McInnes is basically the best hooker though now. Like, there's not a lot between him. There's not a lot, obviously, between these top hookers. And when I say top hookers, like that's obviously not a high bar. But McInnes is the highest projected on the ball of projections for the next sort of period. So,
if you own Sandon Smith, I wouldn't
average.
get McInnes. Though,
Yeah.
if you didn't own Sandon Smith, then yeah, sure, get McInnes, and he's the person to have as your hooker.
I agree. I agree. I'm just putting out a different perspective, and I think that could be like. I'm not totally against that option. It's just not for me. So, yeah, I'm on board, boys. That's a positional analysis done and dusted. Let's get down to our pods of the week, and Christopher, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, beauty. This week, Britton Nikora for me. I'm not bringing him in, but look, there's been some talk about his base not being quite where it is. He's scoring well, given that he's scoring tries, but yeah, he hasn't. Yeah, he's only averaging close to 60. He plays round 12. The Sharks are going to be a great side. What I really liked about his game on the weekend is what I've liked since he's come into grade. He's the best line runner in rugby league. So at any stage, he could jag a try or two, and his base could boost back up. I don't think I read somewhere today it was more his defensive workload that had fallen away, not his work in attack. So that might pick back up. So yeah, I really like Britt. I love him as a footballer. At 530k, so you're getting him pretty cheap. I'd be more than happy to bring him in.
It's certainly his time of year to shine. This is sort of when he picks
Definitely.
it back up. He had a slow start to last year as well and still ended with a 70 average. So I would be backing him to hit a 60 to 65 average. And then if you get lucky, he could be a 70. Tubes, where are you heading for your pod of the week? I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, look, the problem is I feel like I've been a bit cursed with my pods of the week, and so I usually like to pick someone in my own team. But I'm sliding Billy Kickow under the radar at 7% ownership. I've already talked about the reasons for that. But going a little bit wider, I'm going my man Dallin Wateni-Zelezniak, playing on the right wing for the Warriors. First game back, he's playing the mighty Dragons at Wynn Stadium on Saturday night at 5:30. Geez, it feels like it's time for a ton. So they've got such a nice run coming up, the Warriors. They've got Dragons, Dolphins, Canberra, Souths. They do play round 12. Dallin's 537k. Just take a flyer on him. Just get in there.
Yeah. I feel like last time he played in Wollongong, he scored 4 tries as well.
Yeah.
Like that's
he wants it to be wet. Wants it to be wet.
Always wet at
grease.
Wollongong.
He wants that black hair just flowing, just like.
Interested to see what the mullet looks like first time in 2025.
Oh, hope it's still there.
Yeah, hopefully the length is good. Shoulder length at worst, I'm expecting. My pod of the week is Adam Reynolds. So he's 607k now, break even of 17. I mentioned in the halfback segment just to check what your halves are going to look like through this bye period. I don't mind the running with Nicho and Adam Reynolds. Reynolds has shown this year he's got a huge ceiling. He's already posted 3 tons in 9 games with a low score of 27. He's had a 27 and a 28 and then no other scores below 50. They run into Souths in Sydney and then St George at home before the bye in round 12. And then they've got a very nice little run over the bye period. They don't play 12 or 15. So again, you need to check those major buy round numbers, but he's never been one of mine. I don't think I've ever owned him, but if I was looking for a pod option at halfback this week, he would be where I am going. All right, boys, round us out tonight with Captain's Chat. Tubes, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so the beauty we talked about Sandon taking the AE there, you get a definite 2 bites at the cherry. It's hard to go past KP against the Titans as my VC option off the bat. You could look at a Fletcher Sharpe, but I think I'm going to stick solid with KP. And my captaincy option is, I think, pretty clear cut. Is Pappenhausen against the Tigers is it Sunday afternoon they play?
Yeah, 2 p.m.
So, yeah, I just think he's had a couple of quiet weeks. This one back at home, back at Amy Park, Sunday afternoon. Like, I just think that he's basically a lock unless KP goes 100 plus.
Chris, your captains for the week, please.
Yeah, look, at the moment, I'm sitting exactly where Tubes went. Other options, I don't mind. I love day game captains and vice captains. So a 3 p.m. time slot for the Dogs playing against the Raiders. I don't mind Kiraz. Obviously, I'm chasing last week's points still there, but I think he's a decent option. And obviously Nathan Cleary's game last week, it'd be hard not to consider him. But yeah, I'm with Tubes. Big C on Pap and the VC on KP at the moment.
He's not really my cup of tea, but Payne Haas, that's tempting against Souths. If he gets any attack, the offloads will be flowing. The bunnies middle is decimated. I saw Totola's jersey 18. I don't know what's happened there. Sean Kepi's been dropped to the bench. They've gone with Keon in the middle now, starting at front row. Payne Haas could have a field day there. Little watch on his minutes. I'm going to really strongly consider that. It's not my cup of tea usually. I'd be with Tubes on Pappenhausen C in that Melbourne game. I like Ponga VC, just hard to he's just been that bit injured. That's such a good fixture though. So I'm really, really torn. But I think Haas, Pappenhausen, Ponga, all great options for Cs and VCs. Like you said, Tubes get 2 cracks at the cherries. And I want to mention, he's going to be forgotten, but Nathan Cleary is still an amazing captain option this week. We saw what he can do last week in a game that looked unfavourable, 129 points, back to his best. He's going to be underappreciated as a captain option this week, so I think he's a great pod captain choice. Tubes, that'll see us out tonight. Chris, thank you very much. And, mate, outstanding performance at Magic Round. We were talking about next year doing a game where you can accumulate Supercoach points as a fan up at Magic Round. I reckon you would have turned up, no worries, mate. And looking forward to slapping the C on you next year.
Likewise, mate. If on the C, you've definitely got the VC just in case something goes wrong. But no, thank you very much for having me. Obviously, tonight at times is a bit of a tough carry, but I think that was only due to post Magic Round depression. So I hope everyone goes well on the weekend. Hopefully yourself and I can get back in that or get into that top 10 and see how we go. But thanks for having me.
Absolutely, mate. Tubes.
I reckon it was the first time you've seen red arrows all year, Chris. Dropping from 6 to 24,
possibly.
And you're just like, you're
hating life.
You you don't know what to do with yourself.
The good news is it's not that far back. It's not that far back to the summit, Chris. So not that far to go. I really appreciate you boys coming on. It was a tough carry, but we've got plenty to look forward to round 10. And Tubes, you can see us out tonight. Thanks everyone for listening.
You beauty.